Hello everyone. Welcome to this webinar on FEM-Design steel joint. My name is Flavio. I am a sales and support engineer at StruSoft. I have a structural engineering background and I have a master's in architectural engineering from DTU. Thank you all for attending the webinar. Today my colleague Dennis will help me out with the questions you may have. Please, for questions in your GoToWebinar window on the top right corner of your screen, you have a questions field here. And you can type questions and Dennis will answer them. Okay, let's start with FEM-Design steel joint. FEM-Design steel joint works as a standalone software or built-in to 3D structure. You can open the standalone version from the FEM-Design 15 folder on your desktop and just select FEM-Design steel joint from the list. Once you start, you are prompted to select a Eurocode from a national annex you want to use. For now, I'll select the Danish national annex. In the window, you can see the different types of connections you can do. You have a column splice connection, a beam splice, column base, beam to beam, beam to column, knee joints, and bracings. For each of these types, you have different solutions. You can have welded solution or bolted solutions. And in some cases, you also have different options depending on your structure. Let's take a look at an example. Let's choose a knee joint, and I will choose this type of solution. I go to next. I can see my 3D representation in the right sided window. You can rotate your view and take a look at your connection. You can select from different types of cross sections for your column and your beam, different types of materials. You can also set an inclination to your beam. For example, put here 20 centimeters and the view is automatically updated. For this example, I'll just use a straight beam. In the load combinations window, I can create some load combinations. I'll enter a name and some values. Let's say for the axial force, I will enter 40, 70, and 90. I go to next, and I can see the calculations being performed in this window. You can move around with the window and maximize it, make it enlarge it or make it smaller, and you can also attach it as it fits your view better. You can see the calculations that are being performed on this type of joint. You can see now the joint utilization is 96%. And here are all of the checks and calculations that are being performed. You can customize your connection. You have all of these parameters here. You can choose if you want an end plate, for example, or not. You can choose if you want top stiffeners, the bottom stiffener, and we can also customize that part of the connection. You can edit your haunch, the end plate, the bolts. You can choose different types of bolts from the bolt library. For example, M12. Well, M12 gives a higher utilization, of course, so I will just stick to M20 for now. The quality of the bolts, you can choose if they're pre-stressed or not, washers, and you can also set your parameters here. And you can see the bolts move according to the position. Yeah, when you are finished with your design, you can click on Finish and enter a name for your joint. Let's say that this will be SJ1. And I can add this, I can select my joint right here, and I can add this to my documentation. Here you can see that documentation report has been automatically created with all of the calculations and sections and drawings. You can save it into a Word document. I'll just do that again. In the bottom part of the window, you can save it as a doc file. You enter the path, and you save it. Let's take a look at another joint. Maybe we can take a look at a beam-to-beam joint. You can see here the type of the connection you want. I've chosen beam-to-beam and then the different types of solutions. Again, you go through the same process. You choose your cross-sections, you choose materials, and you enter your load combinations. Say 80, 120. Go next, and you have your connection and the calculations being performed. This is a welded connection, so it does weld checks. And you can edit your weldings here. Once you have finished, click on Finish and you name your joint beam to beam. And you have it it's saved here in your joint list. You can access it through this drop-down menu, and you can add it to your documentation. Yes. I want to remind you to please type in questions. I can see there is some activity there, so please feel free to type in your questions. Let's take a look at the built-in version of steel joint. So steel joint has a section in the 3D structure software. In the steel design tab, I select steel joint design, and now I am able to create all of these joints on my structure. This is a steel structure, and I'm going to start defining some joints. Let's you go to the Define Joint button, and here you see all of the types that are available also in the standalone version. You have your column splice. So I select the column splice type, and I pay attention to this notification on the bottom left corner of the screen. FEM-Design lets me know what it expects of me to do. Right now it says select bottom column, so I'll do just that. I'll select my bottom column and I'll select my top column. A list with available solutions pops up. I can choose from these different types of solutions. I can choose bolted connection, and my joint is created right here, represented with this ID. If I want to design it, I go to Manual Design and I right-click on my joint. I'm automatically directed to the standalone version, and my forces are imported from the model into this design window. Also, the profiles are also imported, and I can see the calculations performed. I can see the joint utilization here of 23%. I can start editing my connection, the end plate. I can enter different types of smaller, thinner plates, for example. I can edit the width, the distances, and different parameters. I can also have my bolts edited, the quality, and different parameters. Once I'm done with editing my connection, I click on Finish, and the modifications are applied onto my model as well. So I want to go back to my model, and the joint is updated here as well. I want to define different types of joints. I can define, I'm still in the column splice. I can see a rectangular hollow section connection. I have to select a solution, and my joint is created. Also, being able to edit it the same way. If I made any modifications, I click on Finish and return to my model. I can have a beam splice. If I want to connect two beams, I select my beams and a list of available solutions comes up. I can choose what type of solution I want, and my joint is created. I can go and manually design it. I can see my calculations and my parameters that I can edit. Once I'm finished, I apply the modifications and return to my model. What other types of connections? Let's see if I can make a hollow core, rectangular hollow core, a rectangular hollow section. I have them right here, and I can have a rectangular hollow section connection. Again, the loads are imported from the model and the profiles as well. I can see the calculations, and I can edit my parameters here, the end plate, the bolts, and the welds. I return to the model. We can do some column-based connections here. I can define a joint. I select the column-based button, and I select my column. And I can see my detailed joint right here. The utilization, and I can edit it for a rectangular hollow section, and I can see how it looks for a column, for a eye profile. If I define it here, I can manually edit it. Okay, I can do some more types of connection on this model. I can have a beam-to-beam connection. Let's see what I want to create here. For example, I can have, so I go to my steel define joint button. I select from my types of connections. I select the type I desire beam-to-beam, and I want this type of connection. I can manually design it, and I can see the connection between the main beam and two secondary beams. I can edit the parameters for all of the elements involved in the connection. I can edit my cut, the end plates, the bolts, and the welds, just like the other types. When I finished editing my connection, I return to the model and define another type of connection. Say a beam to column. I can find this beam to column. I can select my beam to column type, and again, if I'm not sure what's next, what I'm expected to do next, I can take a look at this left bottom corner, and it says select column. So I go ahead and select my column, and then select beam. Select my column, I select my beam, and I have these solutions available for me. Choose whichever one I want, and I can manually edit as well. You can see my beam, my column, end plate, and bolts. And of course, I can edit them. Let's take a look at questions. If I want to remind you, you can ask questions in the question menu. You can also detach it from here if you want to take a look at all of these questions. I'm going to put it back right now. And continue with showing some more connections because they are so easy to make. I'm going to do a bracing type. Go to define joint, and I select the bracing type connection. And I'm going to start with these types of bracings. I have to select my chord as the program wants me to do. I select my chord, and then I select the two bracings. To have a multiple selection, I hold Control key and right-click on the first element, release control, and then right-click on my second element. When I'm done with my selection, I hit enter, and a joint is created. I can go to manual design and edit my joint. I can see it in this 3D view, and I can edit the parameters. I can also have a hollow section joint. I can show it right here. Let's define another bracing. I have to select my chord and then a multiple selection using the control key. My joint is created and I can go to manual design. There is this geometry issue of my bracing arrangements. So let's take a look at another example. Let's define this. Let's define this bracing, selecting my chord and my two bracings. Yeah, I have to edit this. I have to edit the parameters here and get a proper and correct connection. I will not do that right now, but you can define your geometry and parameters here. I think I have one more type of connection I want to show you. Which is this column to beam connection. I have my column and I have my beam. No, that's not the one I wanted. Perhaps it is this. No matching solution found. This can be for several reasons. It's also the this physical alignment of elements needs to be correct and match the type of the connection in the steel joint module. Let's see. Please ask questions in the questions field, then Dennis will answer them. If there are no more questions, that is all I wanted to present for you today. Thank you for attending, and I will see you next time. You can also, if you want to test for yourself, you can get a trial license. You can just apply for it on the website. Yeah, thank you very much, and have a good rest of the day.